Action. Hello, my name is Reg Bowyer. I'm 90 years of age and I want to tell you a little snippet from my book, The Long Shadow. We came down from Baghdad and we went on board a ship in Alexandria Harbour and sailed for Taranto on the southern tip of Italy. Well, we landed there. The Germans were bombing a little further up the coast at Bari, and we were pleased that it wasn't us being bombed, but there are many sunken ships in the harbour that our swordfish airplanes had sunk previously. Once we'd assembled all our artillery and vehicles together, we proceeded north. And we went through Campobasso we laid out our guns just south of Castel di Sangro. 4 guns to a troop, and I was in B troop. My job as a driver of a 1500 weight vehicle was to roll out telephone cable as close to the observation posts at Castel di Sangro as was possible from the gun positions. It's quite a dangerous job. We went as far as we could with the vehicle and then we walked the rest of the way, laid out cable for telephone lines. This was our first trip into action and we didn't know what to expect, and we'd been deployed on what was then a quiet part of the front against the Germans with our medium artillery guns. So this was all very new and we were quite apprehensive as to what a soldier does when he gets up to the front line for the first time. And however, the guns were laid into position and all was quiet, and one of the officers, or 2 of the officers actually, asked me if I would go take them back to regimental headquarters where they were going for dinner. Whether they had the regimental cutlery out or I don't know, but however they went into the officers' mess for their dinner. I went into the cookhouse to help the cook drink some red wine, rough red wine. And when the officers were ready to go back to the gun lines, and they called me and said, "Get in the back of the truck, Bowyer, we'll drive." I said, "I'm sorry, sir, it's not permitted, you're not allowed to drive." So they got in the back of the truck and I drove them back. And the next day I was up on a charge with disobeying orders on active service. As far as I know, I suppose you could get shot for that. I don't know. It was certainly the case with my father in the First War. So I was up on a charge and they said, "Do you plead guilty or not guilty?" And I said, "I plead guilty because my reason for this was I didn't want to leave the regiment if I could help it." So I was relieved of my job on taking a vehicle up in front of the guns on a dangerous job and put onto an ammunition truck, which mainly when not bringing ammunition up to the front remained behind the lines and appeared to me to be a much safer job. So I was quite happy with that. But a few days later they said, "We're lending you out to the infantry to carry stuff up to the front line for the infantry, which were adjacent to us," and that of course was back into the danger zone. And so I did that for a few days, and then one day when there was nothing to do, I asked for permission to go back to my regiment to see if there were any I went back to the regiment to see if I could pick up any post that may have arrived. And we did get some post, me and my co-driver. And then we started to return back from the front lines down to go over to the infantry. And my co-driver said, "We can't go any further," he says. "They're shelling the bridge in front of us." So I said, "Well, we'll pull up at this next corner to get some shelter if we can," which I did that. I jumped out of the truck reaching back in the truck for my steel helmet and looking up. There was an aeroplane circling, and it was American P-41. And I turned round to see if my co-driver was with me, and he was lying flat on his back, and he'd been killed. He'd strafed by the American aircraft. I ran across the field and into a wood with bullets coming on my heels. And I thought what to do. I wondered I could whether I could dig a hole with my steel helmet. Anyway, everything quieted down. I came back onto the road where one of our anti-aircraft guns was on the side of the road, and I said, "Why didn't you fire?" And they said, "It's one of ours." And I said, "Any bugger who fires at me is an enemy." And so that was the end of that little episode before we transferred to Monte Cassino.
It's in the book?
This is all in the book. The story of my life during and after the war. Okay, thank you.
$4.99 on eBay. $4.99 on eBay.
$4.99 on eBay.